Hello, friends. I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. And today we're looking at the ones that got away. I'm not a fisherman. I don't know why I did that. But anyway, if you read the description, the title, I don't know what I'm going to title this, but something along those lines. I recently just finished my top 50 favorite games of all time. Hopefully you caught that last month, February, counting them down in 3 separate videos. Be sure to check them out if you haven't already. Then come back to this one. But anyway, basically these are the games that fell off of that list is from 2023 to 2024. And I'm going to just kind of briefly talk about where they were last year and try to hint at why they might have fallen off. Again, if you saw those videos, didn't see them videos, whatever, I put a bunch of games in the PubMeeple. Any game that I thought had a shot at making my top 200-ish games, I threw it in there because who knows where it ended up. And what PubMeeple does is it just pairs two up against each other, and you pick one that you prefer or like better, whatever you want. And I kind of just went with, if those two games were sitting in front of me right now, which one would I rather play? And that's the one I chose. That's how I did the list. And after you do that, like hundreds of, maybe even 1,000 times, it ranks them based on how they ended up fighting against each other. I'm sure there's an easy internal logic system that does it. You can kind of peter out where things are going to lie as you're doing it, because you'll see the same game kind of come up and be like, okay, yeah, I can see it comparing against that and that and that. But anyway, all that said, I did that. I got a top 50. I tweaked it a little bit just to kind of make it feel a little better in some spots. And then I made some videos, and you can watch those right now if you haven't already. Anyway, I've been rambling a bunch. I'm going to go ahead and start breaking down the 12 games fell off the list. So that's 1/5, 20%, more than 20%, 20 some percent. I'm going to try to math in front of you right now. 20 some percent of the games right out. Some of them barely out, but that's the nature of the beast. New games came in, old games I'd played more, or whatever the case is. These are the ones that just, for whatever reason, didn't make the top 50, and I'm all right with that in regards to all these except one. And when we get there, I'm gonna talk about that. But go ahead and let's find out where these games used to be and why they might have fallen off the list. And we're gonna do this from in order of how far they fell, I guess, although I didn't really look at where they fell to, if you know what I mean. But basically, how close to 50 were they is the first one at number 49 last year. So this one just trickled off the list. Maybe it fell way far. I don't know. It was 49 last year, and it didn't make my top 50 this year, and that is Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. And the reason this one fell off is I played it once in like 2015. I haven't played this game in forever. I really want to. I'd love to get back to the table. My buddy here in Colorado has it, so I'm sure to get it back to the table eventually. It's just been so long that it just slowly trickled its way off the list, just from lack of play, lack of kind of thought. Although, like, every time I think about it, it's like, man, I really want to try that again. It was such a neat mechanism, whatever, with the turning dial worker placement where you got to time everything just right. Interesting, unique, fun game that I really want to play again. Trickling it way off the list because I keep not playing it. Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. Number 47 last year, not on the list this year, is Takenoko. A little family-friendly, fun panda gardening game. This one I really do like. It's got a great fun theme. It's easy to teach, good for the family, good for everyone game. And it fell off just because I've found other games that fit that bill too, that we've played more and we kind of like more, although I really do still like Takenoko. So this is just kind of a case of it fell off just slightly because of other games that have bumped their way on, such as Creature Comforts and First Rat. I don't even remember if First Rat was in the top 50 or not, but it's right there on the borderline too, in that same style of quick, easy family playing game. New York Zoo, another one of those. So just Takenoko kind of just lost to those games is all. So great fun game. Just fell off the list because others in that ilk have made their way on or, stayed on. All right, number 45 last year, Discordia was a new game in 2023, I believe, or maybe 2022. But it was a game I really enjoy. I don't like the solo mode that much. It's a game that is unique in that you've got a bunch of meeples at the start, and you're trying to employ them basically by getting things in your city to put them on, so that way they can get employment and go away. Because the first player to make them all go away wins. Or whoever made the most go away at the end of 3 or 4 rounds wins. And that's what I don't like about the solo mode, because there is no, I didn't quite make them all go away aspect of it. So I could be left with 3 workers. And the solo mode's really hard too. Like, it's really unforgiving because you can lose out on extra actions and stuff way easier than you can in a multiplayer game. I think that's my feeling. So that aside, like, just a lot of things work against you in the solo mode, making it slightly harder than the base, if you're playing with a bunch of players. And by that I mean it's really hard already. It's slightly harder solo mode, and it's more unforgiving because you can't, it's not a beat. I almost wish it was a beat your own score style, even though I don't like those games. Just because I always find myself with, in my good games, I always find myself with just a few meeples I couldn't get rid of. And maybe if I was playing against an actual opponent, I would have won handedly. But because it's the solo mode, says you have to get rid of all your meeples, I did not win. But it's still a fun game. I really enjoy it. I had a new expansion come out this past Essen, so I didn't pick that up yet. It's on my radar a little bit, but Discordia, just a game I really, really liked the premise of, and then it's just a game that, because I only mostly played solo, and it's just a game I don't think about as much, so that's kind of why that one's fallen off. Number 39 on my list last year, fell off now, out of the top 50, gone forever. Probably not. Could be back. Who knows? It's Welcome to the Moon. It's a roll and write game, or I guess flip and write in this case. It's got a campaign mode, and you can play through a storybook, kind of choose your own adventure. The more I'm talking about it right now, it's like, I know why I fell off. I just haven't played it in almost a year, I think. So it's got some neat things. Just roll and write, flip and writes. Not quite my genre. I got into them briefly, I think, early last year. But they've kind of just fallen out again. That's something I'm eagerly reaching for. That's really what it comes down to with this one. It's great at what it is. I just don't really reach for those type of games. So Flip and Right, Welcome to the Moon. Got a great thing I'd love to dig back into in theory, but in reality, when I look at my game shelves, at a game to play and my minimal playing time, roll and writes, flip and writes just aren't the shelf I'm looking at. And they are all on one shelf right here to my left. And so that's kind of why this one's fallen off the list. All right. One that's fallen even further off the list as we get almost to the halfway. We're not even halfway through this 12 yet. Number 37, Lords of Waterdeep. Last year was 37. And this year, gone out the door. No, Lords of Waterdeep, it's okay. It's a worker placement. It's a quest game. I'm not a D&D person. So I imagine like getting into that lore, like it's not in the game a lot, but there are quests, and I'm sure like names of things and stuff relate to the Waterdeep Dungeons and Dragons line. Not my thing. I do really like the simplicity of the worker placement and, the collecting things from spots and then completing quests. And you can pick on your opponents a little bit more by giving them like negative quests and things like that. But, they can also help you out because you can buy buildings. And when they go to the building, you get a thing too if you own the building. So a lot of neat concepts in this game that I like. And other games have adapted because Lords of Waterdeep has been around for a minute. And there's other worker placements I like more. They offer me more. The theme I might appreciate more. So Lords of Waterdeep, a game I pull out every once in a while, but not something I'm grabbing off the shelf a lot. But it is still on the shelf. You can see it right there. So it's not something I've gotten rid of yet either. So just a game. Again, a lot of these games, just things I don't play because other things are replaced. And that's going to be the majority of the list. All right, number 36 last year. So fell one place further in theory. is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. This is a deck builder game where you're playing through the Harry Potter movies, basically, or Harry Potter books, however you want to look at it. You're one of the kids, from the books, one of the four main Gryffindors. They're all the Gryffindors. Neville, Harry, Ron, Hermione. And you're using like allies to help you out, and you're going against the dark, dark people that show up in each movie. One of the things I like is you're restarting every time. There's no keeping what you've developed through, turn to turn. So that bugs me a bit. Like you're shuffling those new things into the deck, but that's just more cards to go through to even find them again. The bad guys are getting more powerful, and more of them are coming out from round to round. But you're starting from brand scratch, spanking new each time, and you got to rebuy all the stuff for your hand and redo it all. So I didn't really care for that as the story progressed. My daughter just kind of got away from gaming with me. It was me and my oldest were the ones playing through this. We got through, I think, the first 4 books worth, movies worth, whatever you would call it. So just over halfway done with the game campaign, if you want to call it that. And then she just lost interest in playing with me, and it sat on the shelf until we're looking to get rid of it now. So if you're interested, hit me up. I don't think we've gotten rid of it yet, but it's not in my game room anymore. But I don't think we've gotten rid of it. I think it's still in my house, just not here. One of the ones I'm looking to move. Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, fun deck builder game, good for the family, especially if you're a Harry Potter fan. But it just stopped working for me, and my daughter stopped caring, so it's just something we're looking to get rid of to free up the shelf space. All right, the very next one in order. In fact, there are a lot of these from this 37 to 33 range. They all disappeared. Looking at my list here. So we're down to 35 from last year, falling out 15 plus spaces. Was The Crew, Quest for Planet 9. I do like playing trick-taking games. The problem is with most of them, you need more than one people. And when I have more than one people here to play games, I'm not necessarily looking to play a card game. I pulled this one out. I played it with my mom in the 2-player, which was okay. I enjoyed it in the 3-player game with some former coworkers, but we've all gone our separate ways. So basically what I'm saying is there's like a 50-round game campaign in this, and I've played about 8 of them twice. Fun, enjoyable, interesting take on trick-taking, but I can just pull up spades on my phone and play that when I want a trick-taking game. So when I have people over, I'm not pulling it out. Fun, decent, probably not something I'm going to play a whole lot though at this point. So that's The Crew. I have the Quest for Planet 9. I'm sure the other one's pretty similar. All right, next, falling one further spot, was 34 last year. It's a Wonderful Kingdom. This is a solo or 2-player game where it's I split. There we go. I split. You choose. Engine builder, resource. Well, I mean, your resources come from your engine you're building. The resources come out in a certain order. You're trying to build more buildings into your tableau, your kingdom, and you play through 4 rounds of drafting and then playing cards for resources over and over again. It has a few calamity modules, which, add a bunch of unique variety. So you're not even playing the same game, even though it plays the same for the most part. You can add different calamities into the game to help thwart your opponent. A game I really enjoyed a lot. And I say enjoyed because I did sell it before I moved. I had to sell off a fair bit of my collection before moving from Germany back to the United States, because that's a lot of stuff to try to transport. So just one of the games that hit the road, mostly because I knew I had It's a Wonderful World waiting for me here, which I think is 2 to 4. I don't know if there's a solo mode in that one. But It's a Wonderful World, and one of the expansions is a game I won and had shipped to my mom's house before moving here. So It's a Wonderful Kingdom just was... I didn't feel like I needed both, and I had a brand spanking new thing already across the side of the pond, so I was able to easily, move It's a Wonderful Kingdom off. I enjoy it, but I've enjoyed other engine builders more, and it's fallen off because of just never got fun. 2-player game. Not my player count. As a solo game, enjoyable, but I kind of played it out because it does get a little repetitive because it's basically the same engine builder over and over again, just the cards come out in different order. So between that and eventually It's a Wonderful World will be on one of my new to me playlists whenever I finally table that one. All right, the last 4 on this list, and we're finally getting to the end of this stretch of these games were touching each other before, and now they're touching each other again. Number 33 last year was Star Wars Rebellion. It's a victim of two-player game syndrome, really. I don't play two-player games very often. Hopefully I more now. It seems like I have more people around me now that are willing to play a two-player, or willing to be the only other person playing a game with me. Back when I was in Germany, nobody wanted to be the only person for some reason. But here I have more people willing to be the one player against me. So that's good. I hopefully get more two-player games to the table then. But Star Wars Rebellion feels like Star Wars. It's a two-player game, really enjoyable. Just something I don't table because A, player count reasons, and B, it takes a long time to play. I think both the times I played were 5-ish hours each. So just a long game, and if I play it more, I'm sure it'll be back on the list because it is really, really good. Just kind of a victim of circumstance in this case. All right, number 29 last year, so it fell 20 plus spaces to leave the top 50, was one of my favorite new to me games from last year, early in the year, and then it kind of faded as I played it more, and it's a good game, fun game. It's Endless Winter Paleoamericans. Just a fun game by Fantasia Game. I don't remember if it's the first or second game they've done, but great work. It's a good thinky Euro, but there are some, as people have played it more, myself included, there are some nitpicky aspects to it that kind of make it like, man, it could have been better. Still really good. Could have been great. And one of those, people have house ruled, using one less worker in the first round or two because you just seem to like ramp up quicker than like it feels like you need to. It's a game that there's a lot of, especially if the expansion. I don't even have any expansions yet. But if you have the expansions, there's just so many different paths to go on. It almost becomes too many different game styles. It's got deck building, it's got worker placement, it's got area control, it's got tracks. It's got, if you have the cave painting, it's got like Pictionary in it, I think, almost. It's like kind of everything but the kitchen sink in the game. Lots of goodness. I really do like the game still, obviously. The solo mode, I think it's a little easier than it needs to be. So it doesn't really challenge after I've played it a few times. So that's kind of a strike against it from someone who mostly plays solo. And I've played this with other people a few times. It's a lot to teach again because it's got just so many different things going on. It's not super hard to teach, but it is hard-ish to teach just because there's so many different pieces of it. So, I don't know, fun game. Just it's a lot, and it's kind of one of those games I've really cooled on after. Like, it was super hot on at the beginning of last year, but I've cooled on it, and it's not something like every time it's like I could pull it out and play it, but it's a lot to set up, a lot to do in the game, so it's not always something I want to pull out. Definitely still in the top 75 for sure. So don't act like it's a bad game. It's an enjoyable game. Just it's fallen pretty far off. All right, the last two have fallen pretty far. Number 13 last year was Terraforming Mars: Ares Expedition, a game that I didn't like Terraforming Mars that much. It's okay. It's long, and it didn't do a lot for me. I like aspects of it, but I didn't love it, and so it was never one I was clamoring for. I know that's probably sacrilege amongst a lot of people, but pretty lukewarm on Terraforming Mars. But Ares Expedition came out, and it introduced a quicker-ish, I don't even think it's that quick, but quicker-ish card only version of the game for the most part. It's obviously a little bit more than just cards, but it breaks Terraforming Mars down into a more manageable bite-sized chunk. But more importantly, it added the Race for the Galaxy action selection, as everybody's going to pick which action they want to perform in the round, and then only those chosen actions are going to be performed. So some actions you might not even get a chance to do from round to round. And I really like Race for Galaxy. If you didn't see my top 50, it's on there, 100%. So this introduced that aspect to it. And I played it a lot last year. And the year before, I believe, too. I'm trying to remember what year it came out. The last couple of years, I played a lot of Terraforming Mars. Eric's Exposition. I got the Kickstarter, all the expansions, add-ons, big box, right there. You can see it, of everything for Ares Expedition. I played through the Crisis, which is a co-op version. I haven't co-opted with anybody. I played it solo a bunch of times. And that was fun too, because you're trying to keep Mars terraformed. And like in this case, Mars is trying to unterraform itself and you're trying to keep it up. That's kind of the aspect of it. So it's a good concept. Nice addition to the game. But I've cooled on it a lot. After, I think I might have just played it out for now. I think I just need to let it rest, and come back to it maybe in 8, 10, 12 months. Because right now it's just, I feel like, I don't know that I want to play it. Maybe I'm just cooling on those engine style Tableau games in general. I don't know. But yeah, this is definitely a game that, like, I don't know. I don't know. I've cooled on it. I can't even say why. It's a good game, but it's just not something I'm eager to play right now. So hopefully once I let it rest and ride and come back to it, boom, right back in it, and it, could come back on. I doubt it'll be in the top 13 again, but it could see its way back on the top 50 with some cooling period. And finally, the one that fell the furthest from last year's top 50 to this year's top 50. Number 9 last year was Keyflower. And here's the thing. Right before I filmed my final top 10 games of all time to close out my top 50 video or series, I started to put this list together. The list of the games that fell off, thinking, you know what? I think I might do a follow-up list on the games that left. And I got down to this game, and I was like, there's no way this fell off the list. And I looked through the list, and sure enough, Keyflower was not on my top 50. And I was like, that can't be. So then I went back to PubMeeple and looked through it. My PubMeeple, it wasn't on there. So somehow Keyflower got filtered out of PubMeeple, and I'm not 100% sure because I basically told it to take every game I've played and own and put them in. I guess I might have had something misclicked that have filtered this out. I don't know what else it might have filtered out, but somehow this one missed the list, missed PubMeeple, didn't get a fighting chance. Keyflower, and it would have stayed on the list. I really like Keyflower. It's a game I've only played a couple times. I don't own it. I'm not even sure I know anybody who does own it. Love to play it again. Got Meeple action, Meeple as resources, colored Meeples, fighting for spots. It's a lot of crunchy goodness. A little bit of Tableau building in front of you. You're building your own city. I really like Keyflower. It should not have not been on my list. It shouldn't be on this list, but it is, because by the time I got around to filming and realizing it wasn't on the list, I was already well into my top 10, and there was nothing I felt right about kicking off the top 10 to squeeze Keyflower back on. If I caught it in the 30 to 11 list, I probably might have kicked something out and forget about it. As you see, this list is made up of a bunch of 39 to 33 games. 8 of the ones on this list were in that range, I believe. So I would have probably been okay with kicking something out of the middle of the list and throwing Keyflower in, had I caught it sooner. But I didn't catch it sooner. I caught it at the end. So that said, I'm retroactively throwing Keyflower in probably somewhere around 15 to 20 when I looked back at my list to see where it might have fallen. I'd say, yeah, Keyflower, honorable 10 or 15 to 20 range favorite game of mine. Ended up on it fell off the list. It shouldn't have. So that's the one that I mentioned way back at the beginning. The caveat I would explain. This is it. Keyflower, definitely still a top 50 favorite game to me. Just it got filtered out somehow, some way, some shape, some form. And so it was not on the list. Should have been on the list. Would have been in the 15 to 20 range. And that is where I draw the line. So maybe call my top 50 a top 51 now, if you want to. Anyway, I hope you at least enjoyed this. I don't know how many people come to see what isn't on top 10s or whatever, but whatever. I, felt like talking about some of the other games, honorable mentions, whatever you want to call this, games that fell off the list. If you did like it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. I really do appreciate everybody who wants to return and watch the next video. I do try to put out a video every week, and I would love to hear your comments. Your thoughts on these games, maybe fight for them to return to the list shortly. That said, I thank you for coming, and I will see you next time. Bye.